Hey everyone, we are back. We skipped a week in this build for our client and this craft marketing site that we're doing. This is in Craft 5 and the kind of new things we're doing in that. We're moving along in this site. We took last week off, and I've been out sick for a bit, so I'm also catching up on where things are. So why don't we just jump into it, Michael? How are things going? Where are we in this build? And any new things that are worth kind of sharing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we're kind of at the meat and potatoes stage of the site in this case, which is the projects. It's an architectural firm to run everyone. So this is kind of like their showcase, a portfolio of the different projects that they've worked on. And in this section, we decided to go with using or offloading the search and filtering capability to Meilisearch. In the past we've used Algolia, but now we're using Meilisearch. One of the big advantages of that is you can self-host it, which is great, and it makes also at the same time makes it very easy for local development because you can get it running in like DDEV. Has its own little container and everything. You can work with it. So that's the sprint that we're working on now. I'll maybe just show you here, kind of have a look at the development process as a whole, sort of thing, where we're at. Sure. And then we can kind of look at some other stuff here. Hold on. Okay, right. So here we are. We've gone through, a lot of the stuff is completed. I'll kind of click in some of the cards here. We've got tasks these are ready to go to production. So note in this project, we haven't set up a production server yet, but these have passed review on staging. So they're ready for to go to production once we get it up. If the case we already had a production, then our workflow would say, okay, the next step is to deploy to production, and then we have another stage, which is review it on production, make sure everything is okay before having the client review it. We also have things where maybe some changes came around, so we have some change requests. We found a couple of bugs, maybe some accessibility improvements we can do, in this case on the global items with the header and primary navigation. So we're going to kind of work through those. The content component, this is all pretty much done and ready to go to production. Again, this is what I believe we discussed in previous episodes, sort of content builder fields, how we'd set them up, the set rows and the custom rows. So all of this content is ready to go to production once we get the production side up. And so now we also have sort of the general home pages. Stuff is done. Again, we have a few changes that we found in our own QA rounds for a couple of little bugs we have to get rid of, and some accessibility improvements we have to do. So these are these changes requests, which I'll be working on. And then we had this part of the project, which was open asset project. Just kind of remind, if you haven't seen any of the previous episodes, the client uses a service called Open Asset to kind of conglomerate or get all of their assets whenever they do proposals. So we figured, hey, that's something that they're already using and they're in every day. So why not just fetch that data from there, which is something that, they don't have to recreate all of this data within the CMS. So we created an endpoint that hooks up to this service and gets the data, and just sort of like a basic associative array of data, which we then send to FeedMe to import that data within the section, the project section of the site. So that's pretty much we have a review on staging because some things we want to double test and check. And one last thing, which is still in progress, is to sync all this data with the Meilisearch index. So that's where we're finishing up now. Maybe I can show you here. Let's see here. So within Craft, this is the section for the projects, and we have set up our own plugin that we're using. This is the third project we're using Meilisearch on. So we figured it's about time to build our own plugin for it. So let me see if we have a sort of basic plugin that hooks up, connects to the Meilisearch instance that you have running either locally or you have hosted on the server. And it's set up to sync the data from a specific section that you configure into the Meilisearch index. So let me see if I can share the configuration file so you can get an idea of how that works. Let's see.
What's fun for me in this is I've actually not even looked at Meilisearch yet, and seeing how it's all all hooked up. We've talked about it, heard about it. Ooh, got some inception going on.
Yeah, hold on. Let me bring this works.
But I know we have in mind now is to basically just fully replace Algolia on all our client projects, and just make the switch.
Yeah, so this is our plugins configuration file that we have here. And so you basically just set up in the configuration file here. We have this as environment variables, of course, so we can have our own instance of the Meilisearch index running with the API key. And then the settings for each of the indexes is kind of similar to Algolia. If you work with Algolia, where you have the specific setting for ranking, searchable attributes, filterable attributes if you want to do filtering and faceting. And so you can configure the index. So each time this process runs, you can configure it. And then we have a method that you place in here, which is just to fetch the data that you want to insert. You can do any transformations that you want. As you can see here, I'm using ImagerX to get various sizes of the preview image that's being used for the cards for these. And then it's going down, getting all the images, and then it just you just have to send back a return a basic associative array with the data that you want indexed by Algolia. So that's pretty much the gist of it. The plugin takes care of all of the connections and setting up the indexes. If the index doesn't exist, it creates it. If it already exists, it updates it. And let me show you how it works. Well, I'm sharing screens today. Huh?
Yeah, there you go. It's good.
Okay, let's see. So we're going here. So say we have an entry here. I'll grab one of these entries, this one here. So anytime that a save event occurs, it's going to update the data in the index as well. So as the user, if they create a new entry in this section or update anything, all that data automatically gets synced to the Meilisearch instance. So I'm just going to go in here and save this. Okay, this has been saved. So now I'm going to jump over to our Meilisearch index. Now this is the index. This is running locally. This is as you can see here, this is the index that it's working on, which is the local index. And let me refresh this here. See, now we have that one that we're looking at, and this is the data that's coming in and getting saved into the index on Meilisearch. The data that we're getting is mostly geared more towards the we're saving actually is more geared towards the actual searching and filtering of these projects. So we have some basic data like summary text that we're tagging into the preview images. Preview cards. Basically the URL of where it's at. Of course, this is locally. If it's on staging, it's going to be different. It will correlate to the URL of the entry there. And then we have for like the image data, as you see, I did all that sort of getting different sizes and stuff like that. We're bringing all this stuff in here. So when we're outputting on the front end, we have all this data to set up the picture elements and source set. And yeah, just the basic data. We have some address data for each of the projects, geolocation data, because one of the features in this, let me just switch over here so you can give you an idea. This is the sort of the listing page. We're gonna have a map over here in this section. So this is gonna be very similar to it's gonna be a la Airbnb sort of a way of searching, where if the entries here or the results get filtered in any way, then the map automatically updates with the positions of all the ones, whatever you have in your current showing. And also in the inverse, if you pan the map around and it shows other locations of other projects, then the results will update in this section as well. There, so that's kind of a neat thing that we're doing to get it to kind of easy to use and give the users a good idea of where the concentration of projects are located at. And yeah, just some basic filtering options. Again, these aren't hooked up yet. We're still working on this, but yeah, that's how that. We've also got. Let me think. What else? We got some like project detail pages stuff done as well. So now the content is. The client is going in and inserting data for each of these entries here as well. This is still a work in progress. I'm getting some images loading in here. There we go. So we've got this sort of footer up at the top that we're playing around with, and then the content. This, in contrast to the other stuff that we were showing, which is all very custom made. This is sort of like very templated sort of thing because you want it that way. This is so like you want a uniform feel for all of these projects to have so if a user is going from one project to the next, they're not completely lost of where things are at.
So no page
So this
builder
is
on this one.
no, nothing. Well, it does have a mini. It has a content builder. That's a good distinction that we have. So page builder for us is something where you can have more editorial content. I want 3 columns, 2 columns. Since this is sort of tube of content, we do have a content builder in here, but it's stuff that's very block-like. It's anything that will work within just a 1 column row that can be at this width. So
Is this one we're using? Are you using just Matrix? Or are you doing the CK editor with Matrix blocks inside of it?
It's just Matrix. It was easier to do it that way. We can do that. That's something I've been looking at that maybe we're going to add into it. But for now, it's just basic blocks of content within the matrix. And that same matrix field is being used within our custom builder. It's the same blocks are available in those rows. So that's how that works in there. So yeah, this is the data that we've got in here now. And yeah, we've got some of these, before and after images, which is great for architectural firms that can show how changes occurred through their work. And yeah, just sort of a standard looking thing, but it's this is more of the templated version in contrast to what we had with the more wide open, do whatever you want sort of thing. So that's where we're at now. And the next phases here is we're going to be finishing up or working through this sort of filtering mechanisms, calling Meilisearch in to get that data and updating it here. And the pagination, of course, as well, which is also something that we get back from Meilisearch to set this up. So this is a matter of hooking up. This is kind of static here for now. And of course, the map thing, which is going to be pretty neat. The UI on this is a bit different. So if we're at, you see, I used media queries here, so container queries here. So the grid changes depending on how much space it has, not by
device width.
Regular media queries. So we have this option for have a gallery view, which is showing all of the cards of the projects, and they can go to map view. Of course, the map isn't in there yet, but if they were to click on a marker of a certain project, then we get this slide up here with the project itself that they can click through and go to that page.
Perfect.
It's got this little slide down thing.
So this week is kind of hooking up this page, making sure it's hooked up to Meilisearch. The filters are working through all that. The map's working, pagination, like all that good stuff. So that's this week. And then backing back out then. So like what's left on this? How many more weeks are we kind of thinking on this project? How's it looking?
So if this sprint, which is we're planning to get through all of this sort of listing and filtering options in the map thing, it's going to be this sprint, and then we have probably going to have a following sprint. Let me go back to our listing here, which is going to be jumping into the stories section. This is a very basic blog sort of section where they're able to put in some of their stories, something like that. This is a little bit more, will be a lot, I think probably a lot easier because it's more of a straightforward thing. We don't have a lot of, we do have some filtering and stuff like that, but it's not as complex as the project filtering is.
Yeah. Will you be using Meilisearch for that, for stories filtering and all that stuff, and just kind of so it's similar user experience and speed, or are you?
Yeah. I'm thinking about we'll probably do the whole thing for global search as well. Why not? I mean, it seems to be working well.
Yeah.
It's working well for the projects. We'll do it for the stories, and also our pages section. We can run it through there. And the cool thing about Meilisearch is very easy to run searches on combined indexes as well.
That's wonderful.
You can have your separate indexes for the different concerns, but you can run a general search which will search through all of those indexes at the same time.
Cool. So I'm not holding you to it, just thinking out loud. So in your estimation, then it sounds like maybe 3 more sprints. So it's like this one now for wrapping up this. You've got another one for stories, and then maybe one more for kind of last cleanup QA. Which then you buffer, and there's probably always another one. So maybe 4 more sprints, including the one you're on.
I think that seems pretty reasonable. It's like I said, I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to get the projects filtering and stuff done in this sprint. If not, there might be some tasks that kind of are handed over to the following sprint. And then the stories one, as I said before, is pretty straightforward sort of thing. And just and then one more sprint to iron out any of the kinks, or if there's any change requests from the clients.
Yeah.
We can kind of fit those in, and of course then setting up the production server and launching.
Yeah. So I think this is week 6 of our kind of recordings, and because you also had a week off, maybe it's officially week 7 in the project. So then if we're doing that, so then we're looking at, this is from the development side, and under 3 month, kind of with single developer pace, and not doubling up developer time. I guess let me even ask this. So like if let's say we had a client that like needed this faster, somebody I think, we doubled up. We had somebody working with you on our team, right? It wasn't just you. How would the divvying up of the assignments in your mind have worked? Like, how would we have gone a little bit faster by adding another developer to assist you for 2 to 6 weeks? Like, yeah, how would you have divvied up the work separately?
Well, personally, I'm more of a front end. The CSS, JavaScript sort of thing is markup. That's my sort of area. So I would kind of thinking about it. I would maybe divide out the UI tasks from the data tasks. So getting the UI stuff, that would be kind of my main responsibility. Getting all of that done, make sure it works, it's accessible, that it is what the client wants from the design. And then maybe divvy out the task for some of the data tasks to the other developer, whether that be connecting to third-party endpoints, or even just doing some of the grunt work of the Twig stuff, getting that running and working as well.
Cool. Very good. Awesome. Michael, thanks. Thanks for sharing the progress on that. And we'll check in again next week and see how the Meilisearch and that project listings and the map and stuff is treating you.
All right.
All right. Take care.